Hi guys, Kit here of Burn One, joined along with Dean. Let's say hi.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, so we are a few or what, like 2 weeks or so away from the release, and so we're gonna try to get out some videos with some deck lists that people can experiment, kind of put people in a direction of whatever craft they're gonna get into. This is like a stepping stone essentially for you to jump into, build this deck, try it out, and change it however you like. And so the first thing we're going off here with is Runecraft.
Yeah, one of my personal favorites. What would we put this at, tier 2?
I think we did.
It's
I don't
tier 1 in
remember.
my heart.
Yeah,
tier 1 in my heart. Let's
Rune
go.
is always tier 1. All right, so if you take a quick look, if you already notice, our big thing here is Dimension Shift. This is going to be a Dimension Shift deck. I guess we'll just go. How should we do this? Just go down the card list, or?
I mean, I guess. So I think a unique thing that we want to talk about first is probably if you go down to the deck breakdown, right? Can you do that?
Oh, I can.
Oh yeah, deck breakdown. Except for, do they have the number of cards in the deck? Because it's something unique about this deck, and maybe scroll up.
I don't think it does. It does not.
Oh, okay, very good. Well, I believe this was a 47 card deck.
Correct. Right? That's what we ended up on.
47 card deck. And the reason that we're going to play that, if you didn't see, D-Shift here has the requirement of you have to banish 10 spells from your grave in order to use it. And if people know from like digital, right, sometimes the hard thing is being able to present lethal through a single D-Shift. So that's why we're playing 47 cards, is we want to try to aim to double D-Shift. That's the goal of the deck, and that's why we're playing more cards than a standard list. But I guess we should go straight into, the creatures now. You want to start off with those?
Yeah, so Penguin Wizard, this is your main dude. If you open this, you're a happy person. If you don't open this, you immediately mulligan that hand because you need to open up Penguin Wizard. Every game you open this first in your opening hand, you're probably going to have a decent game no matter what. This is the main engine of the deck, so this is how we filter our hand as well as get more spells into our graveyard as soon as possible, so we can start filling it up so we can have the correct number of spells in there for D-Shift to go off.
Yeah, and an important thing to note about the Penguin Wizard is that we're playing 3 of it, and with 3 of its evolve, where it untapped itself. It has the ability to tap, discard a spell to draw a card, but then when you evolve it, it untaps itself. So you could attack with it then, or you can just tap it again to discard a second spell. So it's double filter. And we're going to be able to combo that with, more importantly, is the Trail of Light. If we want to look at that card real quick.
I can totally find it. There we go.
It's all good. So Trail of Light is a spell. It's 2 mana, draw a card. Not very good. However, it also has, when it's discarded, draw a card. That's important because it means we're going to be able to combo the Penguin Wizard not only into a filter, but a +1, keeping our hand size big, which is good for the amount of removal and combo pieces we're going to need to hold.
Yep, and filling up that graveyard with spells, which we desperately need as soon as possible. Next, we have a Demon Flame Mage here. This is mostly kind of used to slow down against the aggro matchup, since its evolve is what we like the most about it. The evolve form here, when it evolves, deals 2 damage to all enemy followers. If you look at a lot of the decks we played early on, and I'm sure the meta is going to be pretty aggressive early on, because when we looked in the Japanese meta at the time, most decks were leaning that way. Best of 1 format, aggro is always pretty good. So once you drop this on the board, the deal 2 damage to all enemy followers usually clears most 1-drops, I believe, right? And even some 2-drops. Especially if you're playing against blood. A lot of stuff only has 1 health, 2 health, and that's it. So this is a good way to clear the board and kind of slow down the pace of the match. So it's a solid creature, though we don't play a lot of it because obviously drawing creatures is generally not very good in this list.
Right.
Next, we have Merlin. Merlin is our one way to tutor things, essentially, right?
Yeah.
We can fanfare search out the D-Shift when we're ready, or find any of our other spells for any other matchup. And then the evolve form, which we run this as a 3 of also, is you get to pick a 3-cost spell in your graveyard and then play it for free.
Yeah, and something important to note about that effect is it allows us to play like 3 mana cards at lower counts. that we don't like, we may not like want to clog our deck with these cards. We don't want to like draw a ton of them, but like they're utility cards. Like we see the Demonic Strike and a couple other cards in the list that are like at lower counts. We can just evolve Merlin to recycle that effect if we need to, when they're more situational.
Yep. And then,
I think one other thing that's important though to note about it is when you copy a spell from the grave, it you cast it from the grave, so it actually pulls itself out of the grave. So if you have like exactly 10 spells in grave and you copy a card that has like spell chain 10, you would only have 9 spells in grave when you cast it.
Yeah, good thing to note there.
So yeah, that's an important little thing, so that we know we play correctly.
Yeah. All right, on to this is the last creature I believe in the list. It's Flame Destroyer. This is our big win con. Essentially, we're looking to get the spell chain 15 off, so we get to play these for free, and it has a rush, so it can clear out a ward out of the way, and then in combination with D-Shift, Dimension Shift, we get to immediately start attacking again. Ideally, we want 2 of these on the board if possible. Like Dean said in the beginning, our main win con here is trying to cast D-Shift twice to just immediately OTK our opponent, right?
Yeah. So I mean, if you have 3 of them, that's great. I've always had problems with getting all 3, because then 3 would present lethal with single D shift, but 2 D shifts probably safer, which means you only have to find 2 of these guys.
Yep. After that, we're kind of get more into, I guess, control-ish stuff going on here. We have Angelic Barrage as a 3 of. We have these low-cost spells, 1 to slow down matchups against aggro because our game wants to go long so we can get off multiple dimension shifts. So we have these at low counts, and also having low count spells, we can just cast them and get them into the graveyard as soon as possible. We play a 3 of Insight. It's just pay 1, draw 1, but it's also a spell in the graveyard. Always good.
It's also quick, so you don't have to commit to it early. You can hold a removal spell and this, and then cast this in if your opponent doesn't commit to board.
Yep. Then we have Wind Blast. Very good. Once again, spell to remove creatures off the board. You deal 2 damage if you spell chain 10, which is fairly easy to get to if you open with the Penguin. This becomes a 1 cost deal 4 instead, which is very good. Got Fiery Chain, which is a quick play. Choose up to 2 enemy followers, distribute 3 damage between them. And I believe you said this before, Dean, but like you can choose 2 and then put all 3 on one and 0 on the other one. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can. So it's a pretty flexible removal tool. I find the numbers a little awkward because a lot of things have 2 health, so you sometimes can't like double clear with it. But against token based decks, it's pretty good.
Yep. When I take this, Sorcery Cache.
Yeah, so Sorcery Cache is a spell that's quick. Look at 4 from the top of your deck. You get to choose a spell, add it to hand, and then bury a spell to grave. And then the rest go on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is why I say you have a huge problem with finding followers in this deck. This card, when you see 4, right? Like let's say you see a D-Shift, or not D-Shift. Let's say you say like a Flame Destroyer, right? Your Flame Destroyer gets shoved on the bottom of the deck, and then you have to like resolve a second one of these and like slowly like filter them upwards. But it's a extremely strong consistency tool because it puts itself in the grave and then another card. So you're getting 2 spell chain for 2 mana, and you're also getting a card to hand. So you're able to like, maybe select for the Trail of Light to discard with the Penguin while also burying one of your cards that you want to copy off out of the grave with Merlin.
Yep, a very good tool just to fill up that graveyard, like Dean said. And then, like you said too, ending up with putting a Flame Destroyer on the bottom of your deck is pretty rough since we have no way to tutor that specific card out. If that happens, you basically have to use your Merlin to shuffle your deck. Was there another way to shuffle your deck in this list? I don't believe so, right?
Nope.
Yep, so you're basically forced into, if you put too many Flame Destroyers on the bottom, you're going to have to Merlin to shuffle them around to hopefully get them. Trail of Light, not much to say here. Dean's already covered it. Very powerful consistency tool.
There is one thing to mention, and that's this card is broken beyond belief. The hand rule for this game is 7 cards in hand at end of turn, and it's discard cards which would count for proccing this. So if you have an 8-card hand at end of turn and you have a Trail of Light and you discard the Trail of Light, you draw another card, and then you have to discard again. So you can like chain fuel spell boost with this.
Yep, I feel like it's sometimes a niche. Yeah, it's a niche scenario in a way, but it's something to be mindful of, because if you're both playing a very slow game and you're not committing anything to the board, you might have a lot of dead spells in your hand that have no targets to remove creatures off the board, or followers off the board. So then that might come into play, discarding Trail of Light through that. We play one of Demonic Strike.
Yeah, what's important about this is that you can hit the enemy leader with it. It's 3 damage anywhere. Not really too good for 3 mana, but when you can copy with Merlin, right? Like if the board is, you can tutor with Merlin, discard it with the Penguin, because you're probably not wanting to spend 3 mana on it. But then if you copy with the Merlin for 2, it's just like a way to get in a little bit of chip damage in the mid game, or like maybe double clear if that's like the right play. It's just another option.
Yeah, and then also, if you're able to, you can set up situations of getting your opponent down to 14 life by playing Demonic Strike. The next turn, Merlin evoing, playing Demonic Strike again to hit them for 6. And then if you know you're heading into the D-shift turn after that, or very close to it, you get them within the kill range, essentially.
That is also true.
Fate's Hand. 2 of. We like to draw cards. It's quick. 3 cost, draw 2. And then if you have Spell Chain 10, you recover 1 play point. So a lot of times this becomes pay 2, draw 2. And then also you can copy it with Merlin if you need to dig for answers or just hand size in general.
And what I wanted to say, the reason that we're playing 2, or that I like to play 2 at least, is after testing this deck quite a few times, Fate's Hand in physical is a lot weaker. The 3 mana draw 2 is an actual commitment to your resources, and it just kind of feels bad. Like once you get that Spell Chain 10, feels like a good card, but until then, it's kind of not a card you really want to see too often.
Yep. 3 Magic Missile. Once again, this is another card that slows down the game. You deal 2 damage and then draw a card. Only downside to this is it does cost 3, so it makes it a little bit awkward for the mana cost, but we put these in. We need more spells, and we need to slow down the game against aggro. It's just a good card in those scenarios.
And a cantrips, which is nice.
Yep. Play 2 of Execution. Choose an enemy card in the field and destroy it. So I assume this is here mostly to target like amulets, to out amulets and any big creatures.
Yeah, I mean, it's at worst a kill spell, 4 mana kill spell, which we already play. But it's a little more flexible because, like you said, it can definitely target those amulets. So if you're playing against like Banner Sword, or you're playing against, what was the other one? Not Haven. Oh yeah, Haven has a couple of amulets you probably want to remove as well. So it's just being able to target down those pesky amulets that your opponent could be playing. And at worst, it's a removal spell. So.
Yep. 2 of Fiery Embrace. This is choose an enemy follower and destroy it. But if you have Spell Chain 10, you deal 3 damage to that follower's leader. Once again, this is another way to chip away, get them down into that 14 life kill range, essentially, for double. I always forget this guy's name. Flame Destroyer. Anything else worth adding to this?
Not really. Just, we're playing a 2-2 split, just because Fire Embrace is definitely less flexible, but the chip damage is nice, especially once we get into the later game. So, yeah, all around good card.
And finally, we have 1 Alchemical Lore. Deal 4 damage to all enemy followers. Once again, this is another basically try to deal board wipe in scenarios where your opponent's dealing with a lot of 3 and 4, or maybe there's like some creatures that have their health chipped away a little bit. You can just clear the board with this. Anything else to add with it?
It's just for the thicker boards. Like maybe you're playing against Banner Sword, you couldn't get rid of the banner, and they're going to have the 1/3s out or the 2/3s out with the Otohime, and then you're able to use Merlin to tutor this, and then if they trade into the Merlin, you're able to Alchemical Lore, clear the board, and just buy yourself another turn. just kind of there for those fringe matchups. We don't want to play a lot of it, just one, and we just want to tutor it in those matchups when we see that the game is going in a direction that we're going to want it. And if not, we just discard it with the penguin. So,
yeah. So that concludes this. I don't want to call this like a deck tech or something, but this is kind of like a jumping off point for you for this. If you're interested in Dimension Shift, we think this is like pretty decent overall. Of course, you can change it once you start playing, get used to the game, and maybe you do want to cut this down to 40 cards instead of going as high as we think the deck should be. What is 47, right? I believe
47.
Yeah, 47 or 40. Yeah, 47 or 46. I didn't count because I don't remember if it was counting the leader as a card too, but I don't think it does. But either way, this is a really good jumping off point if you're interested in Dimension Shift and building that, and then building out from it and learning the game through that. We're kind of starting this format off, so it's kind of rough right now. Hopefully we get into the swing of things. I think next we'll jump into another deck we're familiar with, and we'll keep releasing these up till the release of the physical game in English on June 30th. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, subscribe. If you've played this list before when it first came out and you have any tips for new players and things to look out for, you should go ahead and leave that in the comments so new players coming in and trying this out can, get the experience that you have, and hopefully we can boost the whole community together. Other than that, we'll see you guys in the next video. Later.
See ya.